We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
All right, good morning, y'all. Hope everybody's good. Happy Thursday to everybody in the syndicate. Good morning, Aaron. Appreciate everybody getting on. Got my buddy Tony Holland with me. You hear me loud and clear, dude?
Yeah, I hear you great, man.
Love it, man. Appreciate you getting on, dude.
I'm glad to be here.
So we're live on Facebook, man. Figured we'd hang out a little bit today and learn a little bit more about all the awards and trophies I see behind you. It's insurance machine. Tony and I have become buddies in the last year or so. This dude is a managing partner at Integrity Marketing Group, along with myself, CEO of Global Premier. And anything I mess up, just correct. But I know he specializes in like Medicare, MedSup, all the stuff I don't do that I stutter over when I'm talking to you guys. This dude does. And him and I are partnering on some stuff because after a million different events, dude's like, you got to get into more. You got to be more dynamic in what you do. So we're partnering on some cool stuff, and looking forward to building some more cool things with you, dude. Appreciate you getting on,
man. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, always, man.
It's cool stuff.
It is. Life is good. So my goal with this thing, dude, is always to just be, as I told you, we're super informal. We just chop it up. Right. I want to add some value to insurance agents. There's thousands of agents in this Facebook group, however many are watching it live. Right. We do allow them to comment, ask questions along the way if they want to. Sometimes people are shy and don't. Sometimes they do, whatever. But would love to give a little bit more context, man, to I know when we were messaging yesterday,
right.
I caught something that was like, I didn't catch the whole message. It cut out a little bit, but it was like, did I hear like van to castle or tell me about that, man?
Well, first I want to thank you for having me here, John. I mean, you've been a blessing. And I was talking to some people at an event last week, and they said, what's been the greatest asset to your partnership with Integrity? I said, one of the biggest blessings, having access to people like you. You've been a huge blessing to me. We connected a little less than a year ago, and what you've done for me in my business and just opened my eyes up to a lot of things that are out there when you're into the business. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You've been a huge asset. You've been a dear friend, and I'm looking forward to collaborating further with you on some amazing things in store. But you've been huge for me, so I just want to let you know that.
Man, I appreciate it, brother.
It's like being part of an all-star
team,
man. I feel like we're one of those Marvel comics or something,
We are, dude. A lot of people don't really understand. I get asked a lot, like, what's the integrity thing? Why'd you do it? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard to explain somewhat. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's such a different view from the inside, getting to know everybody.
Right. Well, I think once you become the best at your level and your group, we've all heard that before, you need to find a new group. And in my arena, back before Integrity, I couldn't go any further. And I need to grow and be around other great minds like yourself and Andy Albright and many other, Sean Mike, and there's so many, Ryan Kimball. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And like, it elevated my game to the point I set a goal during the whole acquisition of Integrity. I elevated my goals because I went to an event with Grant Cardone, and he says, if you want to be a billionaire, he says, you need to associate yourself with them. He says, put that down as your goal. And since that time, I've met some incredible people like yourself and people that are worth, well over $1 billion in this industry. And it's pretty incredible the world that's out there for us. So again, thank you so much.
There's
for that.
levels to this, bro. That's
Yeah.
what I'm learning. I've
Yeah.
not had billion-dollar conversations until the last couple of years, and I'm like,
Exactly.
this is crazy. Not that I'm there, but there's
I got
people who are
5
now,
now
man.
in my network, 5 of them, and it's incredible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if they can do it, we can do it. And that's kind of why I'm here, John. It's just to pay it forward, my friend, and anywhere I can do to be a blessing to people. I don't charge for my fees and services like some of those other groups out there. Remember we had a call a couple months ago about some of the things that we saw challenging in the business. And I'm like, I want to correct that injustice. There's a lot of, I hope I'm okay to say it, if I'm okay to say it.
You say whatever you want, bro.
There's a lot of frauds in this business. And
Amen.
I want to make sure the people out there that are listening, that you got to be careful, who you listen to. There's so many gimmicks and, like I said, frauds out there. I've gone to some of these events and I always research people. I'm like, this guy ain't doing what he said he's doing. He don't have it together. I'm like, guys, I'm going to tell you, you only have a limited amount of time in this business, and life's too short to be following down a road with somebody that doesn't have your best interest at heart and really has their act together. So I want to, be a different vibe out there in the industry, kind of be a shining light in a dark market, because there are some scams and frauds out there, and I want to show people there's a better way to do this.
Yeah, there are, dude. I agree. Hey, do you hear? Someone commented, it sounds pretty good to the volume, but they said they hear a little crackling. I don't know if you hear it. We're going to keep going either way because I can hear you pretty good. But I don't know if you hear it, if it's awkward off for you.
No.
Okay. Well, we apologize. We're not techies, so we're doing our best. But I appreciate the message. we're just gonna keep rolling, dude.
Yeah,
I can hear it a little bit, but I hear you super clear, relatively.
I hear you fine. Yeah.
Cool. Well, dude, when did you get into insurance? How old were you?
I was 23, turning 24 years old. Just graduated from Johns Hopkins University that prior year, and I was actually a bar back at a restaurant called Liberatories out in Baltimore, Maryland.
Really?
And I had a Johns Hopkins degree, and I was trying to figure out life at that time and got into insurance. I was turning 24 actually.
Hold on. Oh, Mike's on your team, huh? But it's okay. Yeah. He hears it too. He's like, I can move him. I'm like, we're good, dude. It's all good. I don't give a rip because I can deal with it. I appreciate it though, Mike. We're good.
So what's the problem with the sound again?
It's just crackling a little bit, but again, unless he knows how to do it on the fly, and it doesn't.
If you can help me out, he's in the other room. Help me out, Mike.
If you can, and I don't care if you get on camera. Do whatever you got to do. Yeah, we're good. We'll just keep rolling. If you can fix it live, we'll fix it. If not, such is life. So you were I read pre-med.
Yes.
Do you know Twardowski?
Yes, I do.
He was supposed to go to medical school and stuff too, and dipped on that to do insurance.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Ooh, there you go. The crackling went away.
Did it? It was probably these little things inside here. So did that stop it?
Yeah, it did.
That much? All right, good.
Life is good.
I am a techie. I figured it out.
I love it. So was your family in medical?
No. They weren't. Not at all. My family were blue collar people.
Okay. What were you going to do?
Excuse me?
What were you going to be?
I wanted to go into pediatrics, and I actually went to Hopkins first to be an engineer. It was too boring, so I switched my major midway through to pre-med. And then I found out real quick that I didn't like blood, didn't like hospitals. So I tried to stint on Wall Street and found out why they were called stockbrokers, because I ended up broke living out of that van. If you see my integrity video, I got actually the old picture of that van. In 1982, it was red, fire engine red, Dodge conversion van. It had shag carpet too, by the way, brother. And
no way.
paneling. Some of you old timers on there remember paneling, that paneling in it.
Crazy. So why insurance? What got you in?
Well, like I said earlier, I was a bar back at Liberatories, and a buddy of mine who was my bartender, Ray Mazzone, was telling me about this great opportunity that he found. And I was just struggling, living out of the van, didn't know where I wanted to go with my life,
Crazy.
just lost. And he says, won't you give this thing called American Income Life a try? And I was like,
No
sell
way.
insurance? Yeah, I started American Income Life.
I didn't know that.
And
Okay.
I went on the interview and got hired. You know, didn't know I would have got hired anyway, but I thought it was a real live interview. And, you know, and then I found out my buddy got $500 for inviting anybody that did a campaign. If anybody with a college degree, you get him to an interview, he got $500. So that was his incentive to get me there. And I took a whim on it and got on a temp license and went to work.
What year?
That was 1993 going into 94. Yep.
Crazy, dude.
Yep.
Crazy. It's funny. So so we were talking the other day, and give him this, because I don't know your numbers. As we do this story, can you give them some perspective on where y'all are at, to like the size of your company? Y'all do gajillions of dollars of insurance.
Yeah, I mean, we were the largest IMO for Cigna Medicare.
Yep.
That all started. My career started with American Income Life. I did that for 6-7 years, McChairman's Club, and I was a top salesperson. And you know, I was encouraged to become a GA, then an MGA, and then I, got to where I plateaued. The only way I could move forward with American Income was to move to another state. I didn't want to go to Wyoming. They gave me that as a territory to run to become a FMO. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I got into final expense and actually was founder of a final expense company back in the day. I was 2002. I built the largest final expense, team out of that organization.
Yeah. That wasn't a small name company. That's a big name company.
It was a big name. I don't want to mention the name of the
company.
I
know. I'm just saying,
who they are.
Perspective.
They're in your state.
Y'all would know them.
At one time, we were about 75% of their production, and that was about 2010. And there were some challenges there that I had to make a move. And a buddy of mine said, "Tony, you got to look at this thing called Medicare Advantage." And I had a nice sized team. We were killing it. I mean, I was making a nice solid 7-figure income annually, and I had people making good money. I'm like, why do I want to go into a new avenue? And and God kind of forced me to go in that direction. So I started with a company called Bravo, and I was one of their first IMOs there. And we went from a handful of agents to, within about 6 months, 685 Medicare Advantage agents. We were, at one time, in year 2, we were doing more than all the other IMOs combined. And then they acquired, HealthSpring acquired them. Same thing happened. And then we got acquired by Cigna, and we were number 1 nationally. So we became a national IMO and just crushed it 14 straight years, and did billions of volume of insurance in the Medicare arena. So, and my challenge right now, we had so many people because of the renewals. It's like I got tons of people out there that have actually been able to retire within 3 to 5 years. I'm like, I got to find new people to go to work.
Yeah, it's funny
when that's the blessing. You want to get people to that level where they're making 200, 300, 400, 500,000 a year in renewals. I got some guys that are well over 7 figures in just the renewal checks. Then they're like, they don't want it as bad anymore. They're not hungry anymore. And I'm sure you see that in your business. It's like, now I gotta find new people, and that's what you've helped me with back in September, going on social media, because I was anti-social media. I didn't want to go on those platforms. And for years, people says, Tony, you got a talent, you got a gift, you got to share it with the world. And the new venue and a new platform, you got to go on social media. And that's when I talked to you, and you connected me with a team, and here we are today. And now we're burning it up on a whole nother level in social media. So we've been blessed. I just say we've been blessed, man. I thank the good Lord, because I could have easily gone down a whole nother road. I grew up without a father, didn't get to meet him till a few years ago, right before he passed. So I didn't even know his name. I didn't know who he was. Growing up, I don't want to say poor, but we were just a little bit better than poor. I mean, we had food to eat, we had a roof over our head, but there were a lot of holidays we didn't celebrate because we just didn't have the money. A single mom working 3 jobs and a grandmother trying to help, and it was tough times growing up back then. So I just want to pay it forward to many more people out there, especially those that are on this call today.
Amen, brother. It's wild thinking, like, a lot of people think there's not struggles when you get to a certain size. And it's so interesting, the concept of, like, you help people get to a certain point income wise. And in y'all's world, this is what I love, is you understand my world, because you were a life guy originally, and I'm learning your world. But it was like, a lot of people I hear sell your world for the lifetime renewals. And they're like, I'm going to build a massive business because I can get all these people who bought into these renewals. And your problem is that works so well, they stop working. You know what I'm saying? And then what you and I were talking about is it's not the agent's lifetime renewals, it's the client's lifetime. Yes. So when they all die, yes, the struggle is your agents who sit too long, they end up having to go back to work after 5 or 10 years because the renewals go away with time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, what I found out, it was kind of a desperation move back it was 2010, you know, when I parted ways with that final expense company in Georgia. You know, they pulled a fast one on me, and it forced me to be great in that side of the business. I had no clue. I didn't know there was all these daggone acronyms, man. I mean, they had Quimby's and Slimby's, and, you know, I'm like, what the heck is that? Quimby and a Slimby? Is that a new rap group out of Detroit? I didn't know what the stuff was. You know, I had a health license, but wasn't using it. But I'm going to just tell you this for your viewers. Yeah. Every adversity has a blessing. And that great adversity, what that company did to me hurt. It did, you know, because they were like family to me. I mean, I built that company up from scratch. I mean, we had over $30 million, which is nothing now, but back then, $30 million of premium on the book. I mean, we were killing it for this company. Yeah. And to do me like they did, but it was a blessing. I actually thank them for what they did because it forced me to be great in another business. And so I'm going to get into the point here. I was able, I think I told your story, they tried to steal my renewals, and thank the good Lord we were able to take care of them legally. And within 8 years, you know, of litigation and $1 million of legal fees, we got all our money. Thank God for that. And interest, by the way. Yeah, that was powerful in itself. Yeah. But get this, 1 year of doing Medicare Advantage with that company, Bravo, I was able to make up those renewals. It took me over 10 years to build with that final expense company. Yeah. And they're pretty hefty renewals that I was getting. And that's, like you said, the biggest challenge with Medicare agents after 2 or 3, 4, 5 years, they're not as hungry anymore. It's called the Peters principle. Once people surpass their level of value in themselves, once somebody gets past, if you only think you're worth $50,000 a year, soon as you start making 60, 70, and 80, they back off. Yep. So to me, I've always challenged people to raise your level of value, set bigger goals, you know, and that's the biggest challenge to have people see outside of making $500,000 a year in renewals, yep. You know, and that's a great blessing to have that. They worked hard for that. But as you said, over time, people are going to die. You know, I mean, the average client in my book is in mid 60s to early 70s. They're not going to live forever. So, you know, so I always tell guys, make sure you properly plan, but also you want to always continue to be adding, you know, new clients to your book of business.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to every side of this deal.
Absolutely.
You know, absolutely. It is what it is.
You know, I'm happy, though, John, I helped them get there, you know, because I can remember the days in the life business. Your old business was great fronting money. It was pretty easy to make 6, 7 figures at that. But the renewals were okay, but not at the level of Medicare. So I'm glad I'm able to help people live a lifestyle that they've always dreamed about. You know, so that is, you know, part of the way I like to pay it.
Yep. I think he fell off. I assume y'all can still hear me. I'll keep chatting until he pops back on. Hold on. Someone let me message this guy. Someone just comment, make sure y'all can still hear me live. I assume you can. What's funny is him and I were talking the other day about that struggle of like, cool, thank you. And I'll just chat till we get back on. His team has it in another room. But we were talking about the struggle of like agents who get to a certain income point and then take their foot off the gas and feel like they've arrived somewhere. And what's funny is a lot of people who see others that are at whatever point of success, they get confused on why they keep pushing and keep trying to grow. And there's some of us that are built like are afraid for this thing to go away. You know, as he said, after a certain amount of time, especially in his space, my world, as y'all know, is very upfront money and a little bit of renewal money. His is pretty even on both sides, but the renewals aren't forever. So it's like building this thing is very interesting, and learning people, learning what motivates people, and at the same time having this weird balance where you don't. Oh, he's back on. So I got you, dude. You hear me?
Yeah, had to relocate.
That's all good, dude. I'll just talk my face off till things go.
You do it.
Now, I was just sharing some of the conversation we were having about that, having this weird balance between, man, continuing helping the people that are with you, and at the same time having this perspective of not everybody wants to push the same way maybe you do.
Right.
And yet always trying to bring in new, fresh blood, if you will, new agents, help new people, continue to grow and expand. So you can keep on the point you were going, or we can go a totally different direction. I don't know if sometimes
I just think it's critical for your listeners on this call, to always be striving for excellence. I mean, God has us here for a reason, and that's to serve others. And so once you reach that level of success, help other people get to that next level. So I'm trying to help a lot of team members. Now that you've mastered it as an agent, you're making $500,000 a year. Why don't you offer that opportunity to others out there in the business? Show them, a guy or young lady out there that's making $35,000, $40,000 a year, a dead-end job, or struggling as an agent with the wrong organization. Show them how to make $500,000 a year in renewable. To me, it's always about paying it forward. Okay. You have to be a selfless person in this business. You got to be thinking about what's best for the people that you're out there serving, whether it's your clients or the agents that you're working with. So I just wanted to add that. Always be, raising your level of expectation of yourself and also your organization. I learned from Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you guys heard of Zig Ziglar. I got to meet him years ago. And that's something he taught me, that when you get stagnant, you need to set bigger and better goals. Like we were talking about the castle, and I had a nice house before that. I was pretty content. That's something I learned from Nick Saban. I don't know if you guys heard of Nick Saban, the great football coach at Alabama. Got to meet him on a workshop, and he taught me this. He says the what will destroy an organization and then destroy someone's life that is successful now. You know what it is? It's complacency. Getting complacent. And we've all been there. And that's why the biggest challenge I'm trying to help our successful team members, including myself, is complacency. Because the moment you get complacent, you get satisfied, that's the moment you start going out of business. You can never be satisfied. You can never be complacent, or you're going out of business. So I wanted to add that, John.
Yeah, I agree, dude. It's such an interesting perspective, watching it and learning and figuring all this out as we go, What would you say to people, dude, that are, and I do want to get to the sales side. So we're going to go out of whatever order we want, but you said something about the building and helping other people get to a certain point and giving back and all that stuff. Dude, I hear a lot, and you may hear it too, but I hear a lot of people who are afraid to build, or they start to build and they get in their eyes burned in some kind of way, or they deal with negative people. You know all the stuff that we deal with.
Yeah.
What would you say to people that are they're early in the very early and maybe thinking about building, they started it, they tried it, it didn't work out perfectly. What can you give for advice there, dude?
So I've been in that situation. 2 years into American Income, started building, so I understand that frustration. And my first year made less money than as a manager than I did as a personal producer. It was a sacrifice for a bigger dream and a goal. So I get that. My one advice I would give on that: you can't quit. Understand that it takes time to build something special. Rome wasn't built overnight. We've all heard that phrase. It takes time. So the bigger you want your agency to be, let's say if you want to have a 10,000 member group, and there's many guys out there, you got to build deep. So you got to understand that part of the struggles and those ups and downs, you got to build deep. And the adversity is good. I'm going to tell you one thing I learned from Mr. Bernard Rappaport, my first CEO at American Income Life. He said, it's so easy to get a license in this business, but you don't learn it. I mean, we all had to take the certifications, do the training and all. Getting your license is a starting point. You don't become an agent in this business for years to come while you're becoming and developing in this business. So you actually get a PhD in this business through trial and error and the adversities. So keep that in mind. I got to where I am, and John and many others in the business, Andy Albright, Hubert Humphreys. I mean, I can name slew of all-stars out there. The adversity is what makes them grow. Just like I told you about that challenge with that company, they actually did the greatest blessing for me. It gave me my PhD to help me grow to another level. God gives you kind of adversities as stepping stones to greater success. So welcome those adversities. You're being groomed and being trained to go to the next level. Another tip, I learned this from, I'm sure you guys have heard of Art Williams, an all-time legend, big-time builder. And you guys, if you haven't listened to him, you got to get into his stuff. I know it's dated, it goes back to the 70s and 80s. But that stuff was so powerful. And he would always use this phrase, some will, some won't, so what next? If you believe in your heart that you're doing what's right, building is pretty easy. And to me, it's about getting through that confidence issue. We all have, challenges with it. I know I did. I mean, I had a problem speaking in front of people back in the day, and look what I'm doing now. I had a scare, I had to get over my fear of knocking on doors and call reluctance. I got over those fears. It's normal as a human to have anxieties and fears, but that's what you need to do to overcome that to get your degree in this business. So I just wanted to add that.
I love it, dude. The challenges don't go away. Hell, me and you keep talking about them.
Absolutely.
And we're doing halfway decent in the world,
That's a good thing, though. It's like I was on a call with my team with a new carrier that's going to be doing some work with us. And, and this lady that was onboarding our team, and we're talking to the executive members of my team about it. And she gave me this phrase, and it was awesome. I said, I'm going to use this, so you don't mind. She goes, because I was talking about some challenging people in the industry. We're just, joking about it. And she goes, I have a phrase I got from my boss at the company. I said, what's that? She goes, life is too short to work with jerks. Okay. And I'm like, wow, I got to add that, because I look throughout my career, I put up with a lot of nonsense back in the day with people. And it's like, you got to work with people that want. I think you did this, John. You did a workshop for me like this on my end. You taught us this, that find and work with motivated people. Yeah. And they are out there. There are people that are hungry, and you might have to kiss a lot of frogs to get to them, but they're out there. They are out there. And I truly believe this, that whatever you become, you'll attract. Because I have a saying in the business. Many people have seen me on stage and done workshops, and this is true. If whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're speaking about, you're bringing about in your life, and you're attracting in your life. So I'm very careful what I listen to, what I read, what I allow inside here, what I think about. I'm very, very careful what I speak about. And I'm not perfect, but I'm very careful about that, because I know I will attract whatever I speak and think into my life. So if you want better quality agents, you have to become a better quality leader. You will attract what you are. I hope that helped a little bit.
Yeah, amen, dude. It definitely does. It's a lot of it's about thought process. And Absolutely. As you know, you haven't, I assume, because we're probably pretty similar. I know I didn't always have the thought process I have today. I've not been me who y'all see forever. And I still think I'm messed up in 900 different ways, to be clear.
Me too. We're a work in progress, man. I'm always working and reading and studying different books, how to get better. No one's perfect at this, man. I mean, I've met billionaires that are imperfect. I was with one a couple weekends ago, and him and I connected, and he's a very successful builder. And, he's 85 years old, and he's still working on himself. Yeah. He still goes to work and still trying to get better at his craft. So if a billionaire that's 85 is still working himself, you know what? We can still work on ourselves too and get better.
Yeah. Amen. Is it one that's here?
No, he's in the Baltimore area.
You know who I want to meet, dude? I assume, do you know Hubert?
Yes, I do.
He's local. He's relatively local to me. His story's bananas to me. He's built and sold 3 companies and still works every day. And he's around that age, isn't he? He's in his 80s.
Yes. He was one of the original partners with Art Williams back in the day, and then founded World Financial Group and HGI. And he's an incredible man. I mean, you want to see a house? That man has.
I've seen it. Y'all can go on Hubert Humphreys. If you go on his Instagram, he has I won't share yours. I saw Tony's got a nice house too, but Hubert's, dude, he has this post on his Instagram. You can literally go now, and it says like from this to this. and it shows the house he grew up in, and it shows his house now, which is in Georgia. You talk about a castle. I was like, yo, that thing is nuts.
Absolutely.
So I've met his son. I had a dinner with his son, Jody, once.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
I've not met Hubert yet.
Yeah.
Hey, I had someone send me a message the other day, and I want your take on this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I'm going to put it in a couple ways. This one dude, you know how you fall into people who think wherever they're at, it's dried up. There's no more opportunity. There's no more room for growth. It's something saturated. This one dude sent me a message, and I'll spare the length of it, but he's in a negative thought process spot. He's worried. He's not where he wants to be. And he made a comment, and it goes, now that the industry has dried up, yada, 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 yada.
Wow.
I'm like,
yeah. Well, I'm gonna give you something else, John. And I appreciate you allowing me to share today. And I hope what I'm going to say touch on somebody's heart in their spirit today. There's 3 elements to being successful in this business. And I learned this from Mr. Bernard Rappaport. Number 1, you have to have the right attitude. And we've all heard that from speakers, but that is so true. You got to have the right work ethic, and you have to have the right skill set. You'll overcome any challenge. But I'm going to tell you, that young man, whoever sent that to you, his number 1 problem is his mindset. And whatever you believe will be true. So that's his reality, because he believes it.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever your reality is, whatever you believe, that's what's going to, manifest itself in your life. It's part of the whole law of attraction. So he's right. And his mindset, I think, is the most blissful time in ever. Yeah. Especially in my business, we got almost 11,000 people turning 65 every day. I used to worry about the good old days back in the 90s that the leads would dry up. There were never times that we didn't get leads. I mean, It's amazing how much opportunities out there. A guy named Ben Feldman, have your people look up Ben Feldman. He was a legend amongst legends, was at one time considered the greatest salesman of all time. He was a life insurance sales guy, grew up on a farm, had nothing. He did over averaging 20 to 30 million of personal now, not an agency, 20 to 30 million a year in production out of a town of 10,000 people.
Wow.
So
Google him. He sold 1.5 billion worth of insurance.
Yes. Isn't that amazing? And I looked at our numbers with integrity last year. We did over 1 million Medicare sales. 1 million. It's like, man, that's unbelievable. I mean, we added another 1 million of life clients. I mean, it's not anybody believes that he's got a serious attitude problem. He needs some serious counseling with someone like you and me to take him in another direction with his mindset. And that's the biggest problem I see in our country right now. I hate seeing this divide, and that's by design. The biggest challenge we have in America right now is not opportunity, because we're still I don't care what anybody says, and I'll debate you all day long. We're still the greatest country ever in world history. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
Because we are.
I agree. I bet you'll get a few of them.
It's everywhere. But people let people get into this, it's over with. See, I'm going to tell you something. I learned this from Art. You can fix a sales problem. You can fix a lead problem. You can fix a marketing problem. You can fix just about anything in this business. But one thing you can't fix is an attitude problem. And once that attitude's gone, nothing else matters. So that young man needs a serious attitude adjustment if he wants to change course and direction in his business.
Oh, man. So with that said, how do you decide when you're building who to continue pouring into if they're negative thought process? Is there, I know it's a hard
90-day rule. We call it know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Maybe when you redo this, you play that song. Know when to hold them, know when to walk away, know when to run.
I love it.
So, once that attitude gets sour and you can't turn that around, I learned this from Brian Tracy back in the day. He calls it zero-based thinking. And you ask yourself this question: knowing what I now know, would I get involved with this individual again? And you need to do that with all your relationships. Knowing what I now know, would I have this guy to be my friend? Knowing I now know, would I be partners with this guy? Knowing I now know, would I be working with this agent or not, or this client or not? You need to ask yourself that question. And the answer is no. You need to find a way to get out of that relationship as gracefully and easy as possible. Wish them well. Say, God bless you. I wish you well, but you got to go in another direction. Life is too short, as I said earlier, to work with jerks. You got to move on. You know, if you can't fix it and can't resolve, and they're still negative and they're still bitter, and this business sucks, and the leads suck, and the business sucks, I've been lied, blah, 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 and they're going on and on and on. It's time to move on. And, you know, I get guys, I'm like, listen, I wish you well. I love you. I'll pray for you, but you know, your mind is so messed up right now. There's nothing I can do to help you. If you believe that to be true, it's best you go try something else for a living, because life is too short for you to be this way. I had a meeting the other day with a guy that he's just bitter and just every little thing he has an issue with. I'm like, dude, you got issues. I said, you know, I'm so tired to tell you this. I'm saying this because I love you. Whatever happened in your past, you got to find a way to forgive all. You need therapy. You need to get yourself together, because you just started this opportunity. You're about to ruin it overnight. This guy's gifted and talented, knows more about this business than anybody, but he's one of those people that are chronically negative all the time. And he thanked me for having that heart to heart. He goes, it's going to take time, but I'm willing to change. And I was probably the first person ever in that man's life to tell him that. His problem wasn't his work ethic. Guy will work anybody. His problem wasn't his knowledge. Guy's brilliant. He's just bitter and negative because you know what? Life has beat him down. And that's why I told him, man, you got to get help, because you're going to ruin this next opportunity if you keep going. I would, if I was under you, I wouldn't follow you. And this is a guy that's a team builder. You know, I said, who's going to follow a negative, bitter, frustrated, as Art Williams says, dadgum crybaby? You know, you got to get your head together so that way you can be a better resource to your agents and also to the clients that you're serving. You know, I wouldn't buy from a guy like that. So you got to get your attitude right. And he was like, I got it. I appreciate you telling. I mean, he didn't like what I had to say, but I told him the truth.
Yeah, that's where you got to be. If not, technically you'd be lying to the guy if you didn't tell him. Yeah, tell him
the truth. And that goes along with your personal relationships. Just be honest with people and say, listen, I'm not perfect either, by the way. I'm going to tell you, I have moments. You know, I'm always going to find a way to be positive. I'm always going to see that glass being half full versus half empty. But I have my moments because we're human beings. I correct myself. Sometimes my team members, my wife, and I get back on track again. It's okay to go off the road. Just get back on the road again. Just get back on, you know. And what keeps me there, I read good stuff and I make sure I guard my mind from the negative. I don't watch the news. You know, I that's why I stay off social media. I'm not on Facebook and all this. I don't do that stuff because I want to protect what's going on in here, because I know, because the way I was raised, I'm susceptible to that negative process. Because all I heard growing up is negativity. I was surrounded by negativity and lack and poverty. And, you know, I don't want to be around it. So I knew I'm susceptible to that. It's like people that have a problem with keeping the weight off. They got to be careful what foods they eat because they know they'll put on the weight. You know, it's just like someone that has a drinking problem. They got to be careful going into a bar, because if they go in there, what's going to happen? They're going to end up taking one drink, and one drink leads to 12. You know, so I guard myself from negativity because I know that's a challenge for me from the way I was raised. So I purposely steer clear of negative people, negative news, anything that's negative. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah,
hope that helped.
Yeah, I can relate, dude. I'm wired by default to be more on the negative side, like same way. So I have to have, that's why honestly a lot of these people go, you wear a lot of the shirts. I'm like, yeah, I'm usually talking to myself, to be clear, to keep myself from going to what maybe was a default when I was younger. You know, I have one that I wear that says own your shit. You know what I mean? And I'm broken and messed up in a lot of ways, but I'm like, I'm going to own it. And I'm going to give people I love what you said. And not a lot of people do this, but I give certain people around me the right to check me when I go off base. You know what I mean? When I'm like, yo, I know I'm messed up. Just call me out. I'll fix it in a second. I apologize. Yeah. Sometimes I'm broken.
We're human beings, man, and no one's perfect. And so, but we need to be working at it. Just like in the gym, as you know, you guys know I'm a gym rat, and you know, you made a comment about being in the gym, and you know, I wasn't always like that. I'll send you pictures what I looked like about 8 years ago. I looked like an 80-year-old man. I was in horrible shape. And, you know, I had a crisis in my life, and I said, you know what, I'm going to change. And I got in tip-top shape that I could outwork 20-year-olds in the gym, you know, but it didn't happen overnight. But you got to stay at it. You know, it's a never-ending process. Anthony Robbins, who I've got to know very well and done his boot camp at Master Academy and Fireware. I've done everything with Tony Robbins. He's a genius. He's been instrumental in my life. He was my first guru back in the 90s when I was living out of a van, listening to cassette tapes from him. And he believes in Kenzai and constant and never-ending improvement. You got to always be getting better. You got to always be developing, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's with your kids. I'm going to tell you, there's no perfect marriage. Anyone tells you that's a lie. Marriage is hard work. Been married for 25 years. It's not easy. Okay. You got to work at it. Having kids, I got 3 kids and they've all done extremely well. My son at Kelly Business School in Indiana, just this last night, shared an award. He just made the National Honor Society an honor roll. And it's like, wow. And he got, all these accommodation awards. He got a 4.0 this year at college. And we're just so proud of him, but it wasn't always like that with Jeremy. Matter of fact, we switched him schools, in the 9th grade to another school in that first year, because he didn't want to go to that school. He got straight D's. I'm like, okay. We had to do a lot of work and turn him around, and it was a battle, but we didn't give up. We constantly and never ending improved my relationship with my son. Now him and I are best of friends, and he's just an amazing young man. By the way, he actually started a company, John, that did over $2 million in sales before he graduated high school. He's one of those sneaker gurus. Okay. And he got a scholarship to go to Kelly School of Business out in Indiana, and he's killing it out there. To the point he's got Ivy League schools courting him to transfer to go to school there. So we're very proud of him, and he's come a long way in a short period of time. So constant and never-ending improvement, whether it's your friends, your spouse, your children, and definitely in your business and in yourself. Always try to be getting better.
Yeah. You can tell from the way you speak that you do that. I do a lot of these. I've never had someone give so many specifics of someone else that helped them with you're like, this guy helped me here. This guy helped me here. This guy, there are a lot of people, it's impressive, dude.
I was smart enough to listen to a guy named Tony Robbins. I mentioned him earlier. He said this: absorb somebody else's 50 years of knowledge. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, in that book you got right there, read that book. Probably took that guy 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get that knowledge to put it in the book. So I got thousands of years of knowledge in here now. I've studied everybody in the business. You name them, I've studied them. Art Williams, Hubert Humphreys, yourself, Sean Mike, you name them, I've studied them. Every mentor I've had in my life, I study them and I take their knowledge and make it mine. That's why it's so powerful to gain knowledge, other people's experience, make it yours. Somebody that's written a book with 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience and knowledge, and they put it in a book that you can read in 4 to 5 hours. You got 40, 50 years of knowledge in 4 to 5 hours. Isn't that pretty incredible?
It's like microwave version, ultra microwave version.
And then people say, how did you get that? I mean, you came from nothing, living out in a van, single parent household. I lived in my mom had 1,100 square foot townhouse to now, the type of house I live in now. And that's just one of the houses. And people said, how did you do that? I said, I just had people in my life, whether physically in my life or read books. I was big into CDs, cassettes. Now you got the internet now. You can get so much knowledge, but make sure, as I said earlier, get knowledge from the right people, not those frauds out there, that you and I were talking about. They're on these platforms, and you find out they paid $30,000 to be on stage, and they're living out of their mom's basement. You paid $30,000 to get on stage, and I do research where you live, and it's your mom's house. You're living in the basement. Okay, you're a real success story. And you got people in these audience by the hundreds, some of them thousands, listening to this guy. I'm like, you're a fraud. Listen to those that have done it. And how do you know that have done it? They show their wealth and success well. They show it well. Their actions, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they dress, what they do, the wealth should show. And guys, just do your research. Ask questions. I had a guy the other day from one of these conferences that are going on, and 15 minutes on the phone, I could tell he's a fraud. I'm like, okay. All right. But, I just could tell. Just the way he talked, 15 minutes, I could fill somebody out. And it's like, you're not what you're saying you are. I can tell. And then I had Abe Brown, and you know who you're talking to? It's like me going to Michael Jordan and tell him how to shoot a basketball. Michael's going to say, okay, all right, who are you? Yeah. So, I mean, how hilarious. Like, do you know who you're talking to? I had to remind
Truth, bro. Truth.
I was born, but it wasn't yesterday. I told him. So
just because you're on stage don't mean you've done nothing. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. Hey, go back. I want to know about early in your career. Sales guy, Tony.
Well, you saw my, I don't know if you can, I know now it's just my.
I saw them all. You had like 42 of them.
My plaques and all, but I can go back there and show them all. But
here's what I want to know, dude. Did you, kind of twofold question.
I'm trying to look at you in the camera because my screen is here. I'll show you this. My screen is here. And I got Michael there helping me out. So I don't know if I can turn this around. I'm going to hold it like this. There we go, without falling down on myself.
You can't do that. No one's ever.
All right, let's do that. That'll be a good outtake for you.
Yeah, that's all right.
So go ahead.
Now, what I was going to say is like, one, and it's kind of 2 in 1. Did you ever struggle with the sales? And if you have, can you talk about anything there, what you learned or whatever? And did you always believe like you'd have success in this business, or did you ever want to quit or not, or think it wasn't for you?
Well, when I first started American Income Life that first year, living out of the van, not quite sure where I wanted to go with my life. I was debating going back to med school or going into the military. I was talking to them. I wasn't quite sure what avenue. So I said, I'm going to give this 1 year. I wrote it on my goals list. I'm big on goals lists and dream boards. Make sure your team members and people on the list, you got to have a dream board. And I just wanted to, I wanted to make it. And that first year was struggle because I had people tell me, what did you go to Johns Hopkins for to sell insurance? Johns Hopkins is like ranked number 7 in the world right now in top schools. You went to Johns Hopkins, studied medicine, and you're selling insurance? So I had to overcome that. Family members, saying I made a mistake, and customers even say I made a mistake. You're wasting your life selling insurance. So I had all that, dealing with the ups and downs of commissions. But what I did is I just stuck in there, and I learned from the top people in my agency at the time. So I latched on a lady named Ellen Rutledge and a guy named John Hayward, Jay Radillac. They were like the 3 studs in the office. So I said, I'm going to do what they do because success leaves clues. And that's what I did. I said, they can do it, I can do it. If I was in your organization, John, I'm like, if John can do it, I can do it. I'm going to find somebody that I can relate to and do exactly what they do. Because like I said, success leaves clues. So that first year was struggle, but I gave up a lot of things. I didn't go out. I didn't have cable. I just focused on my career and my business. I think you got to go all in that first year. You really do. There was this study out that 91% of insurance agents fail in their first year. And I understand why. The whole article talked about that. And the main reason why is that people give up too easily. And they don't understand you got to master your thinking and your attitude, as I said earlier, your work ethic. You got to work like stink that first year. If you're not willing to put in 50 to 60 hours a week at this, you're not going to make it, and the article also wrapped it up. The key skill set that people are missing out on is the art of getting referrals. And I do a whole workshop on that, the art of getting referrals. I'm going to tell you that my first year when I learned how to get referrals, it was lights out. My closing ratio went from about 20 to 30% to the high 90%. And from the 3rd month on, I never worked a lead card again. I just solely on referrals. And I was killing it. I was doing grassroots. I was doing church groups. I was doing VFWs, American Legions, food banks, you name it, where there was a bunch of people. That's where I was. I didn't work leads no more. Why would I do that if I can get 3 times the closing ratio and not have to spend the money on the cost of the lead? Back then, leads were like $4 or $5 a piece. Now they're what, $70, $80 a piece. I didn't use leads. I didn't. After those first 3 months, John Hayward, and I owe him a lot. He showed me that in 30 minutes. He says, I keep beating you every week. When I first started, I said, why? He goes, I'm doing this. He showed me a sheet of all his referrals. He goes, I don't work those leads. He goes, that's a good way to get started. But after 3 months, he goes, you need to be working referrals. He goes, I closed this one, I closed this one, I closed this one, I closed this one. He goes, if you go to spend an hour with a client, why not spend an hour with a client that has a 90% chance of closing versus 25 to 30% closing? Yeah. And once I figured that out, it was lights out. And so back then we offered like a free giveaway. It was called the Co-Health Plan. I have a plan called the UNA plan now that I offer a free program to my clients where they get free vision, prescription, hearing, and dental. And that's what I utilize to get more referrals to help people in their community, their family. That's how I get in the door, and it's lights out. And instead of selling 2 or 3 apps a day, I was doing sometimes 10, 12, 15 apps a day. My best day all time, I did 80 enrollments in one day, 80. And it was a church group. It was a church group off of a referral, by the way. And the man that referred me to the church didn't buy the first time. But then after I'd worked the whole church, got 80 that first day, and I think it was like 300 total by the end of that year out of that church. He then became a client of mine. And he was the pastor, by the way. I got him, his wife, and his daughter, and originally said no to me. And when I went back to his house the third time, his wife says he doesn't have any insurance. And I'm like, what? You said no to me, No, but he gave me the whole church first. I worked the whole church. I guess guilt was starting to set in. And I do a whole story about that because it's pretty hilarious how he kicked me off the porch the first time and ended up getting his whole church and getting him as a client, his wife, and his daughter as well. So my tips to those new guys, to answer your question, you got to master the art of getting referrals to up your chances to being successful in this business. And that goes along with recruiting. That goes along with any business that you're in. You got to master the art. I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if you're selling cars. You got to master the art of getting referrals.
Cool. Would you say, because I was going to ask you, would you say that was a turning point in your career for this, or was there something else earlier that was like something triggered? Like, was there a thing besides that, or was that the one?
I was very competitive. I hate losing. Okay. I had a little chip on my shoulder. So there's a couple guys in my office back then that irked me, and I just wanted to beat them. So, I love it. Besides the referral, I'm just very competitive. I was like that in sports, college football, and I don't like losing. It's not even about the money. It was about I wanted to win and be successful, improve. I got a little chip on my shoulder. I was bullied a lot as a kid and through high school, and I just, even early in college, and it was just like, I wanted to be somebody. So I had that chip on my shoulder, and there was no other business in the world that you can change your life almost overnight. I went from making nothing. I was the first person in my family to make 6 figures back in 1994, which was a lot of money back then. Bought a sports car, a condo, and it was just, I was living the dream. And then when, I guess year 2, it settled in when I started getting renewals. The renewals blew me away. I was making more in a month than most people would make up their slaving in the renewal check. But really what turned the corner for me, John, I want to be as completely transparent as possible. Year 2 is when I was in a house with a client, and they were debating on doing an enrollment with me. And they hemmed and hawed, finally said yes because they were getting ready to get laid off. It was at American Income Life, and they had a strike and layoff waiver. And that's how I got them into plans. If you ever go on strike or get laid off, we'll pay the premium. So they said, we'll take it. And I battled for another 30 minutes for them to take the child rider. They took it. It was like, an extra $5. Went out in the parking lot, wrapped everything up, got the check, hugged the family, went on. The little boy their son, 12 years old, was skating. Long story short, I got a call 3 months later from Terry Thompson, the union president. There was an accident in that family. It was a drowning on Lake Linganore out in Frederick County, Maryland. And that 12-year-old kid drowned. And that was one of the toughest moments ever in my business to get that phone call. He called me to let me know if we can give a donation to pay for the funeral. I said, wait a minute, they have a policy with us. And there was a $25,000 check coming to them because it was an accident. We were able to give that family, nothing can bring back a 12-year-old. Yeah. But to be able to deliver a check for $25,000, then I knew I was in the right, because I did the business for money in the beginning. That first year and a half, it was all about the money, making 6 figures, dressing in nice suits, having nice watches, all the material things of this business. But that day when I got that call and been able to deliver a check for $25,000 to that family, I knew God had me in this business for the right reason. I stopped selling for the money and selling to help people in need. I started selling to give people better value. I wanted to save them money or give them better benefits. So my whole business changed year two to, I went from making about 120,000 a year to that second year, I did over 300,000 that second year. Because I stopped selling because of the money. I started selling because I wanted to change people's lives.
Yeah, I love it, dude. It's crazy what impact one. That's the piece people don't see. Like, you see the story now because you get to look backwards. A lot of people right now are building their story, but they quit before they can tell it, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was talking to Michael.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's wrap with this, dude. Again, I always tell people the name of the show is Tactical Thursday. If you can give them one thing, I always like to give them something that they can walk away with, that they can implement today. Obviously, you've given 9 million nuggets, all kinds of good stuff. Anything you want to leave them with that anyone on here can go put in place today to help better their career would be dope.
Yeah, I apologize for the little computer glitch we had in
Don't bother me at all,
county,
dude.
so I apologize for that. And I guess the final tip in terms of where they can take their business and their life, I would go back to those same 3 principles, John, that I said earlier. To wrap this up, you got to have your mindset right. You got to fill your mind with the right positive energy. Hang out with guys like John Wetmore if you're part of his team, or whoever your upline is. Find the most positive guy or young lady in the organization and partner with them. Get around people that are going places in their life. A lot of people ask me why did I move from Clearwater to Miami, one of my other houses. It's like I want to be around people that are making things happen. I don't want to be the wealthiest guy in the community. I want to be a guy that's striving for excellence, be around people that are doing 10 times better than me. So I think that attitude and your social circle is important. Be around with players and winners. You'll get there. You got to have work ethic. I mean, I hate these programs you see on the internet that you can get rich overnight and work an hour a day and make millions. That I've never met anybody who's done that. I've met millionaires and billionaires, and not one of them have done it that way. That's a fraud. The typical millionaire and billionaire I've met works anywhere from 50 to 80 hours a week. That's what it takes. And it's amazing how many people will work harder at an hourly wage job than their own business. So guys, you got to have strong work ethic. You got to also work smart and thoroughly. You got to have skill sets. I gave you guys some tips on that, especially on getting referrals and what you need to do there. And so that's what I have to say, John. I pray that what I shared fell on good soil. You got, I'm sure there's somebody out there listening. Go, that's me. I needed this today. And people say, Tony, you're like a minister. It's like I love just coming to your meetings because it's like Church of Tony.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, can you see the screen?
Yeah, I'm looking at you now.
You see that? Look at the comment.
What does that say? Love this, best one yet. Okay, cool.
There you go. And then one more. Can they get? She was talking about your referral workshop. Is that somewhere out there that people can get, or is that?
I don't know. You can ask my team leader, Michael, here today. I mean, we have that. They can, if you want to direct them to, our platform, we have all kinds of training and workshops. I mean, we do it all from veterans. We do a great workshop for veterans. I mean, you talk about helping people that, the VA benefits are jacked up. And we're able to go in there and help them with their Medicare, help them with their life insurance. So we have a veterans training we do. We do one on, like I said, the referral. So yeah, we have all that on our platform. So if you want to share that, you're more than welcome, John.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to connect if they want to? Just in general, if they want to.
In general,
whether they want
I actually give out my cell phone.
Do partner with you, whatever.
Yeah, they can reach me at 443-253-3634. That's my personal cell. Not many IMOs give out their personal cell, but I do. 443-253-3634. You can go to my website. It's globalpremierbenefits.com, and it has a lot of that information. We'll have to give you a login code so you can get the extra training. We got over 300 hours of different training and resources like I named today. I mean, you name it, extra help program. You and I were talking about that today through Social Security. You guys are missing a boat on that. Extra help.
We could do this for 4 hours, to be clear. Some of the stuff you've taught me the last week or two, I'm like, yo, this is nuts.
It's a whole nother world of, and here's the one thing, it complements life insurance. Our guys still do life, but we leave with the Medicare and the state and federal subsidy programs, and also private subsidy programs. There's private subsidy programs for those who are on diabetes, I mean, there's a lot of things out there that people aren't even aware of to help their clients, and it's free. It's free. So I always told our people I was never a sales guy. I never sold insurance. I was a social worker. I'm trying to improve people's lives. See, insurance guys, they kick out of the house. I was a social worker. I was able to stay for dinner.
Yeah. I love it.
I was part of the family, man. I that's one thing I did. When I walked in the door, I gave them a hug. If they were in the middle of washing dishes, I dried. If they were in the middle of painting the house, I took off my jacket and started painting with them. I became part of the family. I used to say this in my presentation. I'm like, I walked in as a stranger, Miss Johnson, but when I leave here, we're going to be family because someone's going to get adopted today. Either you're going to adopt me or I'm going to adopt you, but we're going to be family. Whether you like it or not, we're going to be family. They just laugh, and that's how we did it. I was part of their family. It's hard to say no to a family member, especially when I'm getting them free vision, prescription, and hearing and dental. I'm helping them with their extra help program. I'm helping them, with all these other subsidy programs. They were wide open to help them with, their Medicare, their life insurance, their hospital indemnity. It was like, I made their life. I found money for them. Yeah. I mean, I was finding money for them. Then it made it easier for me to get the premium, programs in place. So that's what we do, John. I got training on all of that.
Yeah, this dude has the sauce, man. We're adding it to our world. I'm like, I never wanted to do it because I'm normal too. Like, I gotta know all this stuff. He's like, nah, dude, I got all the stuff. I'm telling you, we got you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm going to be doing a road show. I'm going to be in Atlanta next week. I'm going to be
Monday,
in Montgomery, Alabama. So I'm going to be in Atlanta Monday and Tuesday. And I'm going to Montgomery, Alabama on Wednesday. I'm doing a tour. And I'm doing another event in Jackson, Mississippi. Then the week after next, I'll be in Dallas for 2 days doing an event, Houston, and then New Orleans. So I'm doing a 6-city tour, kind of sharing our secret sauce. I got even some more stuff, John, I'll share with you, and I'll come down to see you. The stuff we're doing with AI, Chat GPT. I mean, we're doing some incredible stuff in our industry that it's shocking the world. I mean, we put a guy on it from your organization, by the way. I think I told you about that. He did 60 Medicare enrollments part-time now because he's a full-time financial planner. He did 60 enrollments in his first 7 weeks with us this year. He's almost up to 100, and it's April.
Boom.
So do the math.
Part-time.
Part-time. I got a police officer, police officer, David Matthews. He's 25 years old, left the police force to come with us. He was doing his first 6 weeks of Medicare, was doing AEP. He did 100 enrollments. He made over $50,000, 6 weeks part-time. That was more than he was making as a police officer. He quit on December 31st. And his story is actually online. It gets released, I think, this week. But there's a whole story about him that's going on YouTube, how this business got him out of the police force, where he had his life on the line every day. And in 6 weeks made more part-time, selling insurance, mostly Medicare, and was able to quit his job as a police officer. And he's never looked back.
I love it, dude. I love it. Out there changing the world, changing the industry, families. It's dope. It's dope to see, dude.
Well, that's why we're here. John, I want to thank you again, brother. You've been, I'm going to just say this, and I'm meeting with Brian Adams in a couple of weeks, and, I give my feedback on things and, my perspective on things. I'm going to be at the home office on the 24th. Okay. I'm going to tell you, you're one of the most amazing people I've ever met in part of my association with Integrity. You're genuine, you care. You've been a huge blessing to me. I consider you a dear friend, man. And if there's ever anything I can do for you or people on your team, I'm always here for you, man. You've been a blessing. You really have.
I appreciate it, dude. Same here, brother. I've enjoyed getting to know you and look forward to continuing that. And I'll see you Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be in your office.
Hey, send me a text what time you get. I don't know what time you get in. So send me a text.
I arrive, I think, around 10:30.
You flying in?
Atlanta. So yeah, I'll head right over to your office.
Okay, so you'll be in my office.
Check in and head over. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay,
dope.
Looking forward to seeing you, bro. I love you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Love you too, bro. Appreciate you.
Take care.
Y'all have a great day. Let us know if we can help in any way.
Sir, thank you. Appreciate you.
See you guys.